Hello and welcome back to another episode of 300 Seconds of Science. I'm your host Zach, and today we'll be exploring the mysteries surrounding the platypus. The platypus has fascinated Europeans since their very first encounter. There's an urban legend that 18th century zoologist George Shaw believed that the Australian specimen was a hoax. And yes, you heard that right. The platypus is a native to Australia, which is no surprise considering that that's where a lot of the world's weirdest creatures come from. It's understandable that people would question the authenticity of such a strange creature, considering that the platypus appears to be an amalgamation of a duck and a beaver. The most prominent features of the platypus are its duck-like bill and its beaver-like tail. However, this majestic mammal is in fact neither a duck nor a beaver. The bill of a platypus differs from a duck bill in that the platypus bill is actually quite pliable and has the special ability of electrolocation. Underwater, the bill detects the electric pulse generated by the muscles of prey and allows the platypus to quickly gauge the distance and hunt. The front feet of a platypus have a lot of webbing that makes it easier to maneuver underwater. This is yet another distinction of how other aquatic life gets around, because most creatures use their hind legs to swim, but the platypus almost exclusively uses the front legs for underwater mobility. On a male platypus, their hind legs actually contain a spur filled with venom for self-defense. These venomous spurs are sometimes used to fend off predators like Tasmanian devils, but more often than not, they are used to battle with other male platypuses when competing for a mate. This is why platypuses produce the most amount of venom during their mating season. Female platypuses are born with the same spurs in their hind legs, but the weapons are typically lost before they turn even a year old. Being stung by these spurs will result in immediate and extreme pain, but doesn't seem to be lethal to other platypus or humans. When laying their eggs, a platypus burrows into the ground and closes up any entrances into their room to prevent any unwanted intrusions. A baby platypus is called a puggle or a platypup. Whatever you call them, I call them adorable. These little platypups require nutrition from their mothers. However, unlike other mammals, mother platypuses actually have no breasts to feed their young. Instead, the mammary glands produce milk, which is secreted directly through the skin like sweat. It is a common misconception that platypus sweat milk, when in fact, platypus, being aquatic creatures, don't sweat at all. Another awesome feature of the platypus is its ability to store fat in its tail. This food reserve proves quite helpful when food is scarce. Speaking of food, what does a platypus eat? Since platypus are carnivores, you might find them snacking on small things like worms, shellfish, or insect larvae. But because these little guys have no teeth, they often pick up small rocks to help break down their food inside their mouths. How weird. Platypus are undeniably one of Earth's stranger creatures, but there's one aspect of them that leaves scientists puzzled even to this day. Under ultraviolet lights, the fur of a platypus glows a distinct blue-green color. The reason for this unique ability leaves everyone scratching their heads. Speaking of a blue-green platypus, it's time we discussed the most famous platypus out there, Perry the platypus. The MVP, or most valuable platypus, of the platypus world is responsible for introducing a whole generation of people to the existence of this weird but wonderful creature. Although there were some misguided ideas spread from Phineas and Ferb, such as the idea that platypus sweat milk, the show definitely made a whole lot of people familiar with these interesting critters. The final fact of this video is that the creator of Phineas and Ferb, Dan Povenmire, actually didn't know that platypus glowed a blue-green color when designing Perry. He instead chose this iconic teal color because he thought it looked cool. Was Perry the platypus your introduction to these fascinating fellas? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not like and subscribe? That'll wrap things up for today's episode. We hope you learned a thing or two, and that you'll consider following us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. But until next time, stay curious.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. Do you want to gain experience in video production, professional social media, or working with real clients? Visit the UA School of Communications online or follow us on social media to learn more. ZTV, make media, make a difference.